After a long 82-game series, we're finally at the NBA Finals, where the two best teams in the NBA will face each other in the best of seven. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who represent the Eastern Conference, and the Golden State Warriors will represent the Western Conference. Let's talk about basketball, the National Basketball Association. My name is Francis Estepan. I'm a business major, and I want to talk about the game of basketball, where it came from, how far it came in terms of professional levels, and also how to play a little bit so you can go out and ball out with your friends. First, let's start out by talking about where basketball came from. It was 1980. It was 1891. Dr. James Naismith, while working at the YMCA, was tasked out with creating a game to play indoors during the cold Massachusetts winters, and also to help some of the troubled children stay out of trouble. He wanted a game that took skills, finesse, and accuracy, not just strength. Using a soccer ball with two peach baskets, 10 feet up in the air, 9 players, 13 basic rules, Naismith invented the game of basketball. December 21st, 1891 was the first game, and a lot has changed since then. It is still a sport of skills, finesse, and accuracy, which is what Naismith really wanted. The game was played on a 90-foot court, and the players had to run back and forth. The purpose of the game being to score points by getting the ball through the hoop. There are 5 main positions to the game of basketball. The point guard, who's likely the guy and most usually the shortest guy on the team who's likely to make plays. The shooting guard usually plays off the ball and attempts to work with the point guard to create plays. The small forward is usually a medium height, but sometimes the most versatile player on the floor. The best small forwards are those who are able to run with the point guards and the shooting guards, but are also to match up a bit as well with some of the bigger guys, such as the power forward, who's usually one of the biggest or taller guys who back then usually works in the paint area. And lastly will be the center, who's usually the tallest guy on the team, and his main job is usually to rebound the basket to pass it to one of the shooting guards or the point guards. This was the game that Naismith developed. Now you may wonder why for all my players I include the word usually. The reason is that because basketball evolved into such a positionless sport, the players have really taken what Naismith really wanted to do back then, and they work harder to develop their skills and the finesse within the sport. So really in today's game, we see players who all have different roles and work more towards their strength and just sticking to one specific position to define them. Basketball have come very far by starting out from a small gym into Massachusetts, which leads me to my next point. Nowadays, you can find a basketball gymnasium or basketball in just about every school in the world. Teams are made for every age group, every grade level, all the way up to professional players. Basketball has become a standard in the United States and also across the world. The sport has even reached an Olympic level, where the best from each country come together to represent. Here in the US, the highest level of basketball is known as the NBA, or National Basketball Association, in which there are 30 teams. Those 30 teams have several G leagues, minor leagues, and other clubs and organizations to develop their players. When it comes to college, there's 347 divisions that cover all colleges in the U.S. For high schools, you can pretty much count on if it's a high school, there's a very high possibility that there will also be a basketball team. High school-wise, there really are too many to count. Imagine every high school. We have 3 high schools here in Pocatello, Idaho. Well, in that area, we have Highlands, Century, and we have another one. I wish for the third one. But you can definitely guarantee that all those 3 houses do have a basketball team, and they do play against each other, and it's a great sport. Now, when it also for even nowadays, there's also AAU basketball, which is usually takes on the players who are willing to travel and take a chance to face all type of competition because they're traveling to California, they're traveling to Oregon, Washington to play other guys with different skill levels to make themselves and each other better. Internationals is a whole other subject, full of organizational or full of their own clubs, full of their own organizations. International basketball, it's like the NBA except it's international. I guess it's not really that hard to explain when you put it that way, but it lets you know how far basketball has grown, bigger than even what Naismith could have imagined. Which leads to my third point. Basketball has blossomed to a worldwide fandom. Everywhere you go, there's more than likely a basketball, which comes the question, how do you play basketball? So here's a quick rundown. The game can be played with as many players as you have, 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, all the way to 5 versus 5, where it is played by, which includes everybody or at least 5 or 10 players. But it's not just a game to be played in teams. It can also be everybody versus everybody, in which everybody just kind of keeps their own score. The players can move around from the court by dribbling, which means that the ball is being continuously bouncing. The ball can be passed between players through chest passes or also bounce passes which hit the ground. Over the years, passing the ball has become very creative with between the legs passes, around the back, alley hoops. It has become like quite the art to pass the ball as much as it is to shoot the ball. The way to score, speaking of scoring, the way to score the ball is by putting, like I said before, is by really putting the ball inside of the hoop. Now it's a round hoop, not more of a basket. In my opinion, when it comes to shooting, I would not try to change the form. As long as the ball goes in, the ball goes in. All right. Now, when it comes to playing the game, there's two sides of this. There's two sides or two situations. There's the offense and there's the defense. Offense is when the ball is in your possession or in your team's possession, and your job is to try to score. The defense is pretty much right on the other side. It's the complete opposite. It's when you're trying to stop the offense from scoring. In conclusion, now you have a better idea where basketball came from, what are the highest levels of basketball, the NBA and also international levels within organizations and their clubs. Now it's time for you to go out there and play. I taught you the very basics of it. Don't think that you're a professional just yet, but maybe one day you will be, and good luck with everything. Basketball is a timeless sport, and no matter where you're at, you can always connect with them, just like Naismith was able to connect with the kids back in 1891. If you cannot go out and play, hey, enjoy the NBA players which are happening right now, and let's talk about it. Basketball is a great sport for those who enjoy staying active, where you can always be developing, whether working on your shooting or your passing skills.